Guys, this will be painful, so brace yourselves here. Okay, it's not that bad, but, well, you know. So, Demoniaca Everlasting Night is a Metroidvania type game developed by Aki Corporation and published by Valkyrie Initiative in 2019 for PC. It was ported for all modern consoles in 2022, published by Soft, and you are looking at the Nintendo Switch version here. And yes, sadly the digital version, because there is no physical copy. You are some nameless chick that almost got butchered to death by illegal aliens, invading demons, sorry, but somehow her own blood mixes with the blood of demons and suddenly she's superhuman and now has the power to go up against all these demonic bastards and avenge her brothers. Or something like that. Look, the story is just fluff and gives the character a reason to fight, nothing else. Therefore, let's tackle everything else, and sadly, it won't be pretty. The music is actually quite awesome. For the most part, the tracks have a very dark and chilling tone that fits well in this kind of game. But then when it goes metal, then it goes metal. Here are a few seconds of a few tracks, so you can decide for yourself. Visually, I don't really need to say much either. If you are familiar with Metroidvanias, then you might feel at home here. The game has nice dark colors with a lot of black and red, the characters look quite nice, and there are even reflections in the moving water as well, nice effects like this one with the broken glass. But the most important part is, it has boob physics! Titties! Heck, you can even see titties in some background characters, sometimes with nipples as well, so very nice. And it's awesome that corpses are here to enhance the, let's say, horror aspect of the game. But sure, there are also areas with slowdown, a lot of slowdown in parts, a few glitches here and there, like this enemy not being able to move for some reason, but as soon as I move then it goes through the wall like usual, as you can see here. One thing that can get annoying though is the foreground tiles, let's say, that will block your view and hide enemies or even chests behind it. But now let's tackle what makes a game good. Gameplay. So you are this chick and she fights with her bare hands and legs. No weapons because weapons are for pussies. Even though a fist technically is also a weapon, but you know. However, this will also be a problem in the long run because long range damage is out of the question. Meaning always having to be really near the enemy to be able to damage him can get a bit annoying, but you have a few helpful things to aid you in your journey. How she moves is actually quite fine and nicely animated. She has a few default combos, but later she will learn quite a lot of new moves that you can unlock and exploit, as long as the MP bar is full or at least partially full. But since this game has RPG elements to it as well, if you grind for a bit then the MP bar might be a lesser problem, unless you constantly spam the strongest attacks you will have access to later. The bar above is your HP bar. This blue one is your special meter. You fill it up by collecting these blue orbs that you can collect from destroying almost anything around you that respawns all the time. With each bar filled, marked by the number, the stronger your attacks will be, and once it reaches level 3, then you will go full power for a while. The music will change, and you will be Killua. Okay, Hunter x Hunter is way too good to be compared with this game. You have a few bosses here and there, even optional bosses, and yeah, the game starts to go a bit downhill from here. Now it actually is quite fun to explore the areas you are in, defeating enemies and stuff like that. You will have to wall jump quite often as well, but yeah, the game isn't as good as it could have been because of some obvious problems. And yes, it's a real shame because the game sounds good, it looks good, and had very high potential to be insanely fun. However, problem 1 are the loading times. For a game like this in current console generations and PC, this is inexcusable. Usually the loading times were around 15 to 20 seconds, but I had a few times where it went up to 40 seconds for some reason. I don't know if this is only on Nintendo Switch, but damn! Another big issue is the fact that the damn jump button is a trigger button, and no, you cannot change that. If you like that, then that's fine, but I really hated it. Jump should always be one of the lower faced buttons and not anything else. But even if it isn't one of those lower faced buttons by default, there should always be an option to remap them instead of forcing that shit up everybody's ass. It's similar when racing games force the analog stick up my ass when I prefer the D-pad and I cannot remap it. There is no quick menu to use items, and so you will always have to go into the main menu to use them. And mind you that the game won't stop. So if you want to use an item mid-battle, then do it fast because the enemy will attack you regardless. In itself, this isn't much of an issue, I will be honest, but still, a quick menu would make the game more snappy and wouldn't necessarily break the action flow. Slow motion is the norm in some areas. It's way too easy to exploit the enemies, especially the bosses, but considering that jumping or, well, anything else doesn't feel as responsive as it should, then this was actually quite helpful, I will admit. The constant respawning of the enemies will get annoying after a while as well. It's not the respawning itself that is the problem, because I am fine with that, but it's weird that they respawn even though you haven't even left the area. And since we are talking about damage, sometimes you take damage and want to escape or want to defend yourself, but you can't, because the character doesn't react. You necessarily have to take all the damage because the character itself freezes or something until she is smashed to the ground. This should never be a thing. There should always be at least 1 or 2 frames of room between the enemy attacks so you can have a chance to react. But instead the game forces you to helplessly watch while you get a pounding. The AI is often, nuts. Most bosses can be exploited quite easily, and even many of the normal enemies won't do a thing if you just crouch and kick or punch on both difficulties. But often there is no damage at all because who knows why. Initially you may think that this is one of those critical hit moments that happen from time to time or on occasion or whatever, but the no damage thing happens so often to the point where you ask yourself what the point is in even hitting enemies. Now this might be a nitpick, but the layout isn't all that helpful. The map in the menu is just a bunch of big squares and rectangles, and your avatar on those maps doesn't move. So unless you know the layout of each area because you've been exploring around, then you will feel kind of lost here. Sure, there is a minimap as well, but this doesn't help you as much as it should. The minimap should show you the whole area you are in, not just a snip of it. And oh yeah, before I forget, early on you will get a little mascot, I guess, that can help you out during battle. Well, maybe not. Because after 2 hits he disappears and doesn't do much damage, flies around near you and is generally not too helpful. But if you have a second player, then he can control this beast and maybe then that's better. But I have no idea because I've played with myself, by myself. Look, Demoniaca Everlasting Night had every potential to be a great game, maybe even an amazing one. And sure, since this was a crowdfunding project back then, maybe the funds weren't sufficient. However, that still isn't an excuse because the end result is what we got. So it really is a shame that this game has a few issues that might be a deal breaker for you. Sometimes it certainly was for me because the issues I've mentioned almost made me walk away, but I still beat it because the good things it does well.